Welcome to the Casey Catch Up. This week I've got Zane Westwood, a good mate of mine, my downwind buddy. Zane hasn't been foiling that long, but he's a freak. Remember the first time I saw him, he was just pumping around in circles and carving on this foil, and I was like, man, who is this guy? I've never seen him before, and he's ripping. And he's learnt to sup pretty much just so he can downwind, and he's killing it now. It's so cool to see where he's come from. We actually did a lesson together for the first time, kind of the first time I met Zane, and he went out in the P180 on his sup and kind of couldn't get going, so we went into the beach. He got a chip shot, and he pretty much pumped the last 4Ks to the finish, which is like, he's a seriously skilled athlete. So I'm stoked to have him on, and we've tested a lot of gear together for the GoFoil stuff. So yeah, Zane, thanks for coming on. Stoked to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It was actually about a year ago that we did that lesson. It was around
right.
Yeah.
That was such a cool. Yeah. I remember because we'd surfed a couple of times together, and on the P180, like, you were staying up longer than I could ever even dream of. And I'm like, dude, this guy could downwind tomorrow. Like, there was no doubt in my mind. And he hit me up. You go, I want to try a sup downwind. I'm like, oh, let's do it. And I kind of went into it thinking you just have it. And we went out there, and I was like, man, he's got no idea.
Yeah, it's so foreign.
I remember we sort of jumped off and sort of started going, and I think I got up a couple of times. I was like trying to show you, and we sort of stopped about like between North and South Narrabeen. I'm like, these are the bumps that we're looking at, like, just because you were still looking behind you. You were like looking for them to come.
Yeah.
So I guess that's probably a good place to start. Do you want to talk us through just downwinding for the first time?
Yeah.
Because it's pretty fresh for you. It's only been a year.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that first time was just coming from surfing. You're riding in front of the waves, or riding the energy in front, and then learning how to downwind. You're reading the back of it, so obviously staying high and stuff like that on the bump. And then was so foreign to look at facing down the wind. So yeah, it was definitely difficult. That first session, had no idea what was going on or how to read it. So, and then that night I came home and I was just devastated, but frothing to experience that new feeling. So I was just hungry from then.
Yeah, no, well, like I said, you had, I guess when I talk, like, for anyone who wants to downwind, you pretty much need two things. You need to have some sort of way to chip in. And then once you've chipped in, you've got to have a way to stay up and not come down. And I guess the reason I was so confident that you'd get it that first time was that I knew you could stay up. Like, once you're up, you were sweet. You're actually reading the bumps really well once you're up and going. But just the only thing you had to really learn was the chip in. Because chipping in was, it's foreign because, when we surf, we look behind us, look for a wave, and we paddle for it. When we downwind, you can sort of still look behind to see the thing coming, but I recommend, even still, like, if sometimes the biggest one you see behind you isn't the best one. If you just look downwind and you see that little drawn out sort of clean section, and you can paddle down into that trough. That's what I was trying to show you. That session.
Yeah, they're the ones, definitely. I really actually, what you said the other day off Avalon, those bumps coming off the rocks and refracting out. That's what I did this Sava and tapped into that, and it was a lot easier to get up than waiting for the big bump that white caps and then pushes you. And then I found it, the trough that you said, I found it a lot easier.
Yeah.
To get up, because it was so short, so close together, those bumps.
Yeah, at North Avalon, where Zane and I normally start our downwinder in a northeasterly run, it's like the swell. It's like kind of messy and backwashy behind the point, but then it gets just past the point, and I guess any headland or rocky outcrop normally just downwind of that, it seems to clean up, and that's what I remember. We've done a couple in the last week, but we've been down with so many windy days the past week, so we've done lots of downwinders, and I was getting up way before you, and I was like, what's he doing? Like, it's perfectly lined up in there. It's just like,
it is.
And you kept going further up. I'm like, well, he knows what he's doing. But I mentioned it to you last time, and I was like, just try here, and like, you can kind of see him,
And those ones are coming through a lot more than the white caps. because like when it's on the inside, it's obviously glassy, but the bumps are slow and like lining up, and there's a lot more coming through, so it's faster to get up, I reckon.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a good tip, tapping into that.
Yeah, all like every different, I guess, downwind run has its own little
yeah,
I guess
chip in
characteristics. Yeah. But like we both know that between, like usually around Mona Vale Warriewood, the bumps are usually pretty good, whether it be in a northeast or a southerly run. So like we always look forward for that section, and I guess whenever there's a bit of backwash or anything, when I was chatting to Dave Kalama, we spoke about those characteristics. You usually have wind chop, and then you have swell, usually coming from a different direction, and then you've got some sort of refraction, whether it be off reef or land, and then you've got maybe some currents too. And if you can try to pinpoint each of those for your local downwind run, I feel like it helps a lot.
For sure. Definitely figuring out the pattern. It takes like when you get up, you're obviously a bit frazzled because you've been trying to get up like so much energy, and then it takes about a minute or two to really tune in and tap into the pattern. I find there's like every downwind has a different pattern to the swells or the bumps, what's going on, like timing and like time between sets or like that. Also, I noticed in like a southerly, so in a nor'easter, when we do it like from Avalon to Brownwater and there's south swell, it like creates a wedge, and when the swell wedges and those bumps that come off it, I find they're the best ones. They have the most energy because it's just
like the cleanest.
propagated it. So pushes. So I always say to myself, just wait for the propagation, let it propagate in front of you. And I just
like
hunt that.
Yeah, fully. And that's interesting. I was actually just chatting to Matt Costa the other day, and he was saying like, when the swell's one way and the wind's the other, you can't do a downwinder. I'm like, nah, that's a hoax. Like if it's windy enough, it doesn't matter. And like, especially here, like we do downwinders, in a northeasterly and a southerly. And most of the time, lately anyway, the northeast winds, there's usually a longer period south swell running.
Totally. Well, so definitely south in the swell. Hey, yeah. I find it's just recently kind of understanding it a bit more. It actually works to your advantage sometimes. Like when the swell's kind of going not the opposite direction, or like kind of on a 45 degree to the wind chop. I find those ones that they start to run into the beach more, or they stand up more. So
definitely. Yeah, tell us about that. So like, especially I guess really in northeasterlies and southerlies, it's pretty rare that the wind and the swell here are going the exact same direction. Normally if we have a northeast wind, normally the swell's normally either east or southeast.
Yeah.
And then if it's a south wind, the wind's like kind of as the swell's more southeast or east.
Totally. Yeah, even in a southerly, the wind isn't the same direction as a swell. The swell's coming more into the land, but the wind's kind of marching up the coast. So it's kind of good. Like the other day, where like that southerly, the wind was semi offshore, and you could just go really straight or go out to sea, and then when a big swell came through, you could get behind it and chase that in, and then just keep kind of doing figure eights, like big figure eights going in and out, and just trying to max your speed out.
Fully. Using it was worth. We should talk about it. The new Go Foil wings we've been playing with, as well as some other foil gear that like I'm happy to talk about it too.
For sure.
I've always been pretty just stick to what I know in terms of just using Go Foil, and I've been stoked on it. But in the last probably 3 weeks, Zane and I both been testing a bunch of lift gear as well as the new Go Foil gear. I've managed to have a go of the Takuma Kajira once or twice and the Axis 999, which has all been super interesting and different feels, but amazingly similar as well, I've found anyway. So I know you've tried it too, so take us away, Zane. What have you found?
I find with the Go Foil stuff, definitely is the easiest to get up because it has the most lift, which is a good thing, I think, for learning how to downwind, because if you can't get up, you can't go and can't ride the bumps. So, but I guess it can. Well, not with these new wings. Like they're still like the RS. I've only done, what have I used? The 1300 RS 1300 and the 1150. I haven't downwinded the 1000, but the 1150 is pretty relatively. It's not really hard to get up on the right bump, but it goes fast. So I find it's a good combination of getting up far, like easy, and then being able to stay with the bumps on a big day or a windy day. But I've only used it 3 times so far, but so far
three times in
really
like
good. Yeah,
3 times in like 5 days.
Hasn't even been a week, hey. But yeah, and then I've had a go of the lift. I haven't downwinded the lift 120 yet, but just feeling it in the surf, it's definitely a very efficient wing. Surprised at how small it is and how well it can pump. Like generally from like a year ago, if I saw a wing that small, I definitely wouldn't be thinking I'd be able to pump it for so long. So, yeah, definitely a good wing for sure, that one.
Yeah, for me, I was chatting to someone about it today. The 120, all the lift high aspect wings, they look tiny, like they're super high aspect and super small, but they feel a lot bigger than they look, and that's why I guess people can't get bogged down in projected area or wingspan or anything like that. I really feel like you've got to try the foil, because to me, the RS 1000 feels pretty similar to the high aspect 120 from lift in terms of the way it pumps and the way it turns. Like they're kind of like for like, but probably if you lined them up, I actually haven't lined them up yet, but if you lined them up, the lift would be way smaller, almost guaranteed.
Way smaller. Yeah, totally. So I think that's, I don't know, as it's changing and evolving, and obviously the technology is getting better, I think surface area is going to become irrelevant at all, because they're just making wings more efficient and smaller. Because I remember about a year ago, I was like, I wonder what's going to happen in a year or two with, like, surely they'll make a wing that's small, like say a GL 100 that small, but be able to pump it like a 240 or a 210. So that's where it's all going. Hey, it's very
and I guess the smaller foil, you can kind of turn better because it's less likely to breach. And even now, you know, when the wingtips are breaching, it doesn't matter. Like when the tips sort of come out, it doesn't.
Like the NLs, you can hear it because of that. The tip sticks up. You can hear that, like the ventilation. But with these RS, you have to look down to see if it's breaching. You can't even hear it now. Hey, it's crazy.
Yeah, no, it's super smooth. Like you said, you can't. And I was winging the 1300 the other day, and I was like going for like a long time with like the wingtip just going shh.
Wow.
Across, like it was like looking at it, I'm like, doesn't feel like there's any tip out, but you can see it. And it's like, it's pretty cool.
Pretty cool. A lot of the wings are doing that now. Hey, like it's all I think ventilation is a big thing, because I remember the GLs didn't, like when they breach the tip, not all the time, you know, like you'd breach a tip.
If you got a good portion of the tip out, you were done.
Yeah, it'd have to either be loaded up, like on a turn. If it wasn't loaded up, or you're just doing a little like turn and you breach it, you'd come down. But now nothing's affecting the wingtips. Hey,
you have to get a fair bit of that. You must have to get that step out of the RS to be really feeling it. And that's like a good, 5-10 centimeters.
Fully.
5-ish, I guess.
I guess this week I haven't done much proning, so haven't felt the performance of it.
Like I said earlier, like we've had such good wind the last our spring, so we've had heaps of wind. So we've probably done close to 100 Ks downwinding in the last week, I'd probably say.
I reckon, for sure.
Between us easily.
Definitely.
Yeah.
In all conditions, so.
Yeah, I've got to get you on a Manly to Palmy run one day. You can do it
fully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us about, okay, so the first lesson you went on the P180 and had a hard time getting going. Then the next session, I said, look, just to go again because I know you're going to get it. and I put you on the GL 240. And I guess tell us how much of a difference that made.
I guess from the first session till that next one, I think was about 3 weeks later or 2 weeks later. Definitely was doing a lot more supping in the surf just to feel the balance of the board, and because I used to ride like a 8-6 just surf sup like years ago, and then my mum actually drove over it and broke the tail. So I just didn't want to get it fixed, and that was it. But going from that to a 6.0 definitely is a lot harder to ride and stay balanced. But just put the time in and effort to just figure it out, the board, and just like the paddle power you have to use to get on waves. And so I just put a bit more time in, because I thought I was a bit naive. I thought I could just get on it and ride it, but that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
And then, that session, I guess it was a lot windier as well. So I had a bit more experience on the SUP. And the 240 obviously made it a lot easier. And I find definitely for anyone that's learning the first time, it doesn't matter how fast you go. I recommend having like the biggest wing you can get. The biggest foil wing for sure, just so you can get up. And then once you're up, you can start like learning how to read the bumps and process it all, because it definitely takes time. And still, every session I'm learning something new, which is good. Be more efficient, or like when to go straight or go back out to sea, or stuff like that. But definitely that session I was pumping a lot, wasn't I? Like I just didn't know how to read it properly.
Yeah, I think there's something like, there's no doubt a bigger foil is better because you're up more often. But
totally.
I also think there's we've spoken about it before, there's like an optimum speed for different runs. So like a Pittwater run, for example, which is an inland run, the GL 240 or the GL 210 are kind of perfect speed because they're slower. Yeah. Whereas when you're in the ocean, everything's moving faster, swells,
there's a lot more energy.
All that. Yeah. So if you're on a GL 240, you're not able to stay, like you're maxing out the whole time. So you have to pull off. And every time you pull off, you have to pump more. And then you got to pump back onto the next swell. Yeah. So it's, obviously you're pumping more, but and probably pumping a little bit more than you have to, but everyone does the first couple of times.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
A slower foil, even though you have to pump a little bit more, you're going to be up. And there's nothing worse than paddling for 3, 4, 5, 6 kilometers on a 6-foot board because you can't get
torture.
up.
That was torture that time, that first time. But yeah, definitely. I reckon it's kind of good to be over more foil, or being overpowered, or more over too much lift than obviously not enough. So if you have like a big foil, you just maxed out the whole time. So you're gliding more, and you can just if you can't keep up with that bump, you just turn off left or right, whichever way you're going, and just tap into the next one behind. So that was definitely a massive learning curve, that run for sure, just to see, or just knowing which bumps to chase and what to leave, and which ones were the right speed for that foil, for sure. I think that's a big thing. I remember when I was after that session, and about 3 to 10 runs after that, I was on I think it was the GL 210.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go faster, and I was always trying to chase the bump down in front of me.
Yeah.
And I was just tiring myself out so quickly. And then I obviously, just natural progression, you realize what ones to leave and what ones to take. And then that's when you definitely glide more and use a lot less energy.
No, I remember you stuck with the bigger foils for a while, and I was backing you. I'm like, you just stay with, because paddling up the chip, if you could get in on the P180, it was sweet, but it was getting going and having the confidence that you would be able to get going if you came down halfway. And so I think you were so scarred from that first run that you're like, no, I'm good on the 240 for now. No, I'll go to the 210. I'm going to stay in the 210 for a while. And I remember there was a time I think you're ready for the P180 zone. You're like, I'm going to do one more in the 210. And then Yeah.
I think the time that I realized I was ready for the P180 was I did a wing downwinder from Avalon on the just free winging, and then I came in at Brownwater, and my car was in the car park, and I was like, I may as well just try the paddle out a couple 100 meters and see if I can get up. And I got up first go, no worries, and I was like, yeah, it's definitely time to go smaller. So and I think it was summer, so it was daylight savings, and I drove back up to Avalon and then did a paddle down window, and then that was on from there. Just,
I think you did it the right way. Like obviously, if we cut out that first run, pretty much, you only had one really bad experience, and like I've said to almost everyone, your first downwinder's
totally
gonna suck.
yeah, you just gotta cop it really. It's not like you can do it unless you get a chip in from the point or wherever, and you're really good at pumping. But everyone goes through it. I think everyone has their story of it or their experience of paddling for 5 kilometers, and it's definitely worth it.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I was chatting to a mate the other day, and it's the longest wave on the northern beaches. You do
totally
12K left-hander off North Ave.
Yeah,
how good.
So good. It's actually it's good to see a lot more people getting into it the last few months. I think from your podcast, a lot more people have really, and your coaching website, of a lot more people have realized that it's more possible than it is. It's just time in the water and the effort.
Yeah, I mean that's what I guess that's been the goal of the podcast. Was like I love it, and like you and I were the only ones doing it for whole of last year, pretty much. And then before that, it was me and another guy, Sean Woolnough, and he sort of has a bit of a bung back, so he was on and off, and so I was just downwinding by myself so many times. And then when you got into it, I'm like, yes, I'm so stoked, like it's something to do it with. And then Joe's getting close to doing it now, and then that's sort of given JB and Casso and Jezza and Jay all this sort of
day that downwinder. There was like how many? It was like 9 of us. It was great.
Yeah.
Like
and Indy.
Like
well.
Yeah, in India, it's like being in the surf. And you paddle past someone like 4 times in the surf. But like that on a 12, 13K run, you bumped into a bunch of people.
The highway.
The highway. Totally.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good. A lot more people are getting into it now. Which will make it easier for car logistics as well.
Yeah.
Less petrol consumption.
Yeah. It's been a little tricky for us here in Sydney because we haven't been allowed to carpool because of the lockdown. So we've literally been relying on girlfriends and wives.
Yeah.
Basically.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks,
we're pretty thankful of that. So Mana's over there. Thanks, Lana. Thanks, Molly.
Yeah. But we there's a few of us, me, Pete, and my mate Jack. We went thirds in a Toyota. It's a 1984 Toyota Corona, and costs like, I don't know, between 3 of us, I spent like $300 each on it, and that's just been the communal downwind car, and it's good to have one. Pretty. It's such a shit box, but it's so funny. Driving past people in the traffic, and they just like give you these weird looks.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
What are you driving?
What are you driving?
Yeah.
But definitely makes it easier if you get a cheap car between a few buddies. It makes it a lot easier, the logistics.
Yeah, and I guess we're lucky here that the runs go both ways, so we can literally, if you time it right, you get the northeaster in before the southerly comes, and then the next day you just go back to so you drive to the start of the northeast run, do your run, finish home or wherever you can finish, and then the next day start from where you finished and go back to pick up the car. So there's literally you don't have to go back to pick the car up. There's no shuttle, which is epic.
No bus riding or riding a bike.
I went through a phase where I was catching the bus before COVID. I was catching the bus like every downwinder. I literally downwind to Palmy, and I just wait for the bus and take my foil off and jump on the bus with my board and everything. And
I like it. That's epic.
It was pretty sick.
Definitely worth it for sure.
Oh,
Get on our downwinders.
Yeah. I wanted to talk to you also about more on equipment. So,
Yep.
first of all, the foil, you sat in the bigger foil for longer just to really have that confidence that you wouldn't have what happened the first run again.
Totally.
Yeah.
The worst fear is not being able to get back up.
Yeah.
I think that's what the main thing is the confidence of getting up, say, halfway along the run and not being able to get up. So I find what I've been doing on like a 10 to 12 knot day, go down to Brownwater, which is onshore on the nor'easter, and just paddle out 100 meters or 200 meters and then just try and get up in the light conditions. And I find that's the biggest confidence builder, to knowing that if you come down on a light day, you can get back up. If you're patient and you just wait, you don't panic, you just wait for the right bump. There might be 5, 10, 15 minutes, but yeah, I find that's the biggest confidence booster, is just doing a bit of training and keeping the skills up to date.
Yeah, and you're literally paddling out or jumping off the rocks out into the wind for a while and then just popping up.
Yeah.
I'm stoked to see more of the local crew do that, because I think I recommended that to you at the start. Like, well, let's do
definitely.
this since you didn't get up the first time. Let's practice this and just in a Brownwater. And the bumps are slower there too, which sucks if you're finishing your run when you've come in. But to get started, it's actually a really nice little chip in shallow water.
I find it's also good to, like, if you're not confident on a wing that you want to try and get up on, it's a good thing to do with anyone, just to go out at your local spot where it's onshore and just see if you can get up on a wing that you really want to downwind on. So it just gives you that confidence, which is I think the main thing for me for downwinding, was just being able to get up if I come down a bit of seaweed or any situation, you can get back up.
You got an exit plan. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because
you don't want to happen what happened to Kahi and that.
Oh yeah, I heard that on the prone.
But like I was saying, how when we do our prone runs, it's like a 5-10 minute paddle in. He's like, 5-10 minutes? That's nothing. He's like, try 45 minutes.
Man,
like,
I'd give up if that happened to me.
Paddling prone. Oh yeah.
That's why. That's dedication.
That is.
Yeah.
Kind of. I think that's wild. Like it's.
Yeah. Like
ballsy.
It's definitely doable here, but I don't want to do it. I'd rather just have a paddle. Like sometimes you don't use the paddle at all, but it's just good to know that you have it to get up. Like if you come down, find it a bit more enjoyable.
Yeah, so we've spoken about doing a prone run, from like start at Makaha and in the southerly and go to wherever. And like you said, I think it's definitely doable, but
I don't think it'd be as enjoyable, because you just, like, if you fall, you die.
Stressing.
It's actually stressful. Like the ones we do from Narrabeen to Collaroy, obviously they're short and close, but you're definitely not like the guys in Hawaii. They're ripping turns out there, and I'm definitely not doing that. I'm just holding on.
Just holding on. I'm keen to try the RS 1150 prone downwind. I reckon that'd be pretty sweet.
For sure.
The Northy run.
Totally. That wing, man, that felt good. That was like definitely the smallest wing I've ridden downwind, and it was relatively easy to get up on a windy day, and it turned so well. So I was
do you want to I guess explain how that wing feels, like each of them, and how it feels compared to, I guess, the old Go Fall range or other stuff you've tried, because a lot of people are interested.
So the 1300 is so it's similar. It's the same wingspan as the P&L 185. Definitely, it's thinner and it goes faster, I reckon. And what I noticed today, actually, it's really good down low at low speed. I pretty much could stall it to, like, I don't know, like 0. Obviously not, but like fast, a bit fast, and then pump it back up and get out of like a situation where if I made a mistake. But that was good it's good for light days. And then the 1150 is less wingspan. I think it's the same cord. It's more like I don't know, it's similar service area to the NL 190. Do you reckon?
I felt like it was between the 160 and the 190.
It's not as much
like
service
it
area as the
definitely
190.
pumps well, but it feels smaller than the 190 to me.
Yeah, it's a higher aspect though.
Yeah.
And that was really fun to ride. It's like you can just do turns on the bumps. It's not as like the P&L 185 tracks a bit more. It's harder to turn. Obviously, it just glides so well. So
loves going straight.
Which is not a bad thing at all.
Yeah.
But the 1150 is good for just like weaving in and out of the bumps and just like shortcuts and just like you got to be a bit more efficient on it, which is it's a fun game to play when you're out there for sure.
Yeah.
I haven't proned it yet though, so it would be good to try that on the prone downwind.
I've used the 1150 a couple of times too many. I feel we've tried out the 1300 and the 1150 together a few times, and that first run we did, which actually I'll put some footage on for those watching, those listening, go back and watch around here. But Jamie from Ocean Culture magazine filmed some pretty. That was our first time. First time using the RS. Zane surprised me, and he did a little trip to grab him. And that really felt like I could. The 1150 feels like when it's windy, it's a really good compromise of glide and turnability. Like
for sure, it
halves, and like sort of you can whip the turns around more than, obviously the P&L, way more than the P&L 185. And I haven't had a lot of goes in the 1300 yet, but obviously it's a bigger span, so it doesn't turn quite as well. Whereas I use the RS 1000 and it in a super windy day, but it has a different feel to it. I found the RS 1000. Do you agree? Like that it's a little bit. It's like the span
definitely more surfier for sure. I haven't done it. I haven't done a downwinder on one yet. I think I'd need it to be pretty windy to get up. Just be patient to get on the right bump. But
I think you're going to get up for sure. Like first go I got up on it on the right bump though.
Yeah, right. So obviously you need a lot higher speed to just keep it going. So less downtime between the bumps, hey?
Yeah, for sure.
But what I felt the other day, just proning it was such a smooth wing to ride. Like, just turned really nicely and was like really predictable, which is nice. Just to hop on for the first time and just know what it's capable of.
Yeah.
And it'd be good to ride it a bit more. Just I find it takes a good week or two to really tune a wing in.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, just the conditions and they're not all the same.
No. But I'm pretty stoked, especially after testing like a bit of Axis gear, a bit of lift gear, a bit of Takuma gear, and then and I sort of felt like, GoFoil's maybe losing its, speed downwind especially, and then because the P&L 185 is a pretty big foil, it's pretty epic for downwind for most conditions, but when it's super windy, like there's no like using 1150, like it's an upgrade, big time.
Totally, definitely.
Big time upgrade,
I guess like at the same. Like every brand's bringing out these new wings and they're all staggered, So like one brand will bring a really good one out, and then like another brand will just be behind, and then they'll up them, and then so it's like it's moving really fast.
It's crazy from even like in the last year, like from the P180 to the P&L to now the RS, like pretty
what's next?
Big improvements. What's next?
Who knows? Can't wait.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you. I want to open up on board sizes and equipment because you started. Or tell us what you started on and what you progressed down to.
So I started on the Sun Nova Casey Aviator, and I think it was just the stock 6.0 by 27. 96 liters, and then progressed down to the 510 by 26 by 86 liters.
And how did that jump feel, like going from the bigger board to the smaller, a little bit shorter, a little bit narrower?
So bigger board, wider board, more stability for sure. I found going down to the smaller board and more narrow, there was less drag in the water, so it was definitely easy to get up. Less effort to get up for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But the length I found when I was paddling, I'd lean too far forward, and I'd kind of nosedive it sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'd go over the front. So I found 6.0 is definitely a good length. And then I went down to the one that you gave me, the what is it, 6.0 by 24, 79 liters.
Yeah.
And I thought I was
I remember I was bugging you to use it for ages.
Yeah,
and like,
I
use
was
this
psyching
one, use
myself
this one.
out. Yeah. And then I went out and it was way easier than the 510. I guess it was 2 inches narrower. But yeah, it didn't feel too bad. It definitely a narrower board. It's not as nice paddling out to the wind line, but as soon as you turn downwind and you're facing down, and that's really all that really matters, is it's definitely a lot easier to paddle, like a lot less drag. So when the right bump comes, it's like the right timing. It's like 2-3 paddles and you're on. So yeah, I definitely it's like we're saying, it's counterintuitive. Like the 6, like you start on a bigger board, wider board for more stability, but it's harder to get up on the bumps. And as you progress, you go narrower. It's harder to stand on, but it's easier.
Yeah.
So that could definitely be a thing that people don't take into account when starting. I recommend find a board that you're comfortable standing on and paddling, and then when you progress, like whatever your progression is, just slowly go down the liters and the width, because it definitely helps, makes it a lot easier getting up with a narrow board and a bit less volume.
Yeah.
And it also, I find even when you're gliding and the board's out of the water, there's it's more streamlined in the air, like having a thinner board and a narrower board. It doesn't have as much drag. So
yeah,
especially pumping around, I find it's a lot easier to pump as well.
Yeah. Probably weight as well, don't you reckon? Like
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I definitely do think like a wider board. I guess I'm anti wide boards, wide forward boards, because I sort of hear myself talking. I'm always saying like to prone, you're better off narrower, because when you turn, you can kind of turn harder without touching down. And then on the sups, I'm also saying narrow because you can paddle up on them easier. So I guess I see the advantage of a wide board in being stability and balance.
Yeah.
But once you're up and foiling, I don't see the advantage of a wider board.
Yeah, I guess I've never. Yeah, that's true. I've never ridden like a downwind board that's under 510 and wide. Like you see guys riding like 5.6s by, I don't know, 26. I've never experienced that feeling of a small board to get up. It'd be interesting to see how that would go. So yeah.
Yeah, I know like Matt Costa, for example, he was saying how hard a time he's having on the stand-up. He said it's the hardest thing he's ever done. And I'm like, really? But he's on like a 5.6 by... he'll say I'm wrong. It's like 5.6 by 29 or something, or 28. Yeah, right. And I'm like, man, I don't think I'd be able to paddle that up, because the short and wide, like shorter, less waterline, wider, more drag.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be good. There's not many of those boards around, like around where we live. It'd be interesting to see. The only person I can think of is Indy. He's got one like that.
Yeah. True.
But he's a freak paddler.
Yeah, he is. But like, I guess on that, like, there aren't that many downwind specific boards around either.
That's true. Yeah, it's very new, isn't it?
Yeah. So last year when we were doing the Aviator with Sonova and Casey, I was sort of pushing to go narrower, and we had this discussion with the designer Marcus and the sales team Sonova, and they were like, well, how many people are going to be downwinding these boards? And I'm like, well, hopefully more in the future. And they're like, well,
just you at the,
you know,
at the time.
yeah. And they're like, well, shouldn't we design it more for in the surf? And I'm like, yeah, but let's do it that you can downwind them too. So I pushed them to go a little bit longer and a little bit narrower rather than go the full Kalama square.
It is a good hybrid board for sure for winging. I learned how to wing on it, and like surf sup. I found it was a really good wing board. I was using that for a while.
Yeah. But now everything's getting more specific, isn't it? Like
definitely.
Boards are getting longer and skinnier. Wing boards are getting shorter and wider.
Yeah.
And then
I guess it's with the progression of the sport. Everything's getting more niche.
Yeah. And I feel like there's less sup foiling going on in the surf.
Yeah.
Most people that sup foil are probably going to prone foiling, except for what's his name in Maui, Howbound. Dude, he rips.
Oh, there's him and there's another dude. They're weapons.
Yeah, and they're both on the Kalama squares, and they're absolutely shredding. Like Eddie, I think, is the other guy.
Eddie O, that guy. Yeah. Man, just the lines he takes on with foiling is some of the nicest lines I've seen.
Yeah, on like any board.
Top to bottom. Yeah,
on any board. He's got the paddle and he's really leaning over and banking and the hits and airs and
it's good to watch. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also found on another note, like, also another good way to get confident is like use the wing as a tool for downwinding. So obviously, if you come down, you can get up with the wing. And what I was doing a lot was I was winging out like Newport, which is a local wing spot. It's in the ocean, so in a southerly, there's like a reef that extends out along out the coast out to the ocean, and southerly wind comes across and it blocks the wind bumps and the swell can wrap in. So it's obviously really nice for wing foiling in the ocean. And then I would downwind back home with the wing. I found that was good. That was good kind of training to. It's only like 10 minutes on the foil back to where I live.
I think you're doing those sessions.
It was around summer.
Yeah.
All those southerlies. But I found I'll just go home and wing out to the wind line and then just free wing all the way back. And I found that's a good way to it's less risk way to downwind and like learn how to read the bumps. I found I just go as long as I could. And once you can, I feel like if you can go for 5-10 minutes with the wing, you're pretty much ready to like start paddle downwinding, because the wing definitely, you can't take as straight lines with it because it gets in the way and it's a bit more to handle. Yeah. So if you can kind of be confident down free winging with the wing, the hand wing, it's good. It's a good way to learn for sure. And then when you start doing the paddling, it's so much easier to ride the bumps because you can just go straight, left, right, and not have to deal with this big inflated thing.
Cumbersome thing.
Yeah.
That's something, I guess, like I really want to convert the wingers to what it, like, whether they deflate, whether they sup, whether they boogie foil, whatever it is. I want to get, because there's so many people wing foiling that never, usually they go wing foil to prone foiling to everything in between.
Yeah.
But I want to get, because now the wingers are doing downwinders, I want to get, you sort of encouraged me, the deflate wing downwinder. Zane and I chatted about it for a bit. Why don't you tell us about the Broken Bay run, what we've been doing there?
In the westerly. So what was that, in July? We did that. That was that really good day.
Yeah,
it was a good 2 days, and there's a crew of us. Yeah. There's a crew of us that so where we live is a peninsula, and the peninsula runs out, and then on the inside of the peninsula it's pit water, so it goes all the way. It goes.
I'm going to bring a map up so we can. Yeah,
it'd
be easier. But keep explaining. You're doing a good job.
so the peninsula runs out from Mona Vale all to Palm Beach, which is 6 beaches. And as it gets further north, it thins out to Palm Beach headland, and it's about peninsula's like 200 meters wide from the beach, from Palm Beach oceanside to the Pittwater side, and west of that it goes all the way up to the Hawkesbury, and we wing up about 40 minutes, which is about 5 kilometers dead into the wind. It's a bit of a slog.
Yeah, so we can see it here. So we literally launched in this little spot here at the end of the golf course.
And then we wing up to Flint and Steel, which is this beach facing north or northeast.
Yeah, that's it there.
Yeah, about there. Yeah, it is definitely not that enjoyable winging up.
No, the upwind sucks. I want to play around with a harness.
Yeah. I saw Sam had a harness, and that was a good idea. He just bolted one onto his leg rope or his waist belt.
Yeah.
But packing, and then you pack down. You can either pack down, go into the beach and pack down and chuck in your backpack. But what I've been doing is just east of that beach, just I'll pack down, see where the beach is, and there's that little like rounded cove. Yeah. I'll just pack down there. It takes about 3-5 minutes, and then paddle out past like the beach, and then the current we do it when the wind's westerly, so blowing out of the river, and then the tide is running in, so it creates the bumps to stand up. And as soon as you get from just that point, the tide is running so hard, like you can. Yeah. If it wasn't windy, you'd be getting blown back into the Hawkesbury, or you're being pulled back into the Hawkesbury.
Yeah.
And it's only a short run, but it's a really good one because there's no ocean swell, and it's really organized. It's really easy to read because in the ocean there's a lot more going on, like angles and different direction.
Yeah.
So
it's super clean. Well, what I've been trying to get more crew to do is, it's a little bit more dangerous, but we basically pack up and we go downwind, and then once we get past West Head, generally you start heading back in. But what I've been trying to get more crew to do is continue along Barrenjoey Headland, and you try to finish just here.
Yeah.
And then it's a little shitty, but it's like maybe a 1 kilometre paddle in from the tip, but it's super smooth because the wind's obviously offshore. So you get like an extra, how much further is it? So let's see.
Looks if like you go from here to,
it's like, for that last kilometre, 1.5 k's sucks. Like that's real shitty because this headland blocks it. But if you go like a little bit further, you get an extra 2 k's downwind. But then you've got to paddle
part, upwind. Isn't it? But the other day you winged it and then winged back into the beach.
Yeah, I went out here. It was a little westerly, but the wind wasn't strong enough. So I literally just went around the headland and just came in. I didn't end up deflating my wing at all. Just wasn't.
The pack down is a good way to do it. It's a good adventure.
Yeah, I think it's epic.
Yeah, definitely. I haven't done the pack down without a paddle, so whip yourself into the bumps and then deflate.
Yeah.
But I've been doing the wing out, which is so nice because you don't have to paddle for 500 to a kilometre.
Yeah, and especially along our coast because it's always seems to, like the swell always seems to push us in. So winging out and you get the straightest line.
Totally, and like if you deflate, you're just sitting down on your board and you deflate, you can wring out all the water pretty easily. Like it does add a bit of weight, but it's not, when it's really windy, it doesn't really affect getting up too much because the bumps are so good. So definitely that was a good eye opener doing that. It makes it enjoyable for sure. The paddle out, or it's not even a paddle out.
Yeah, the wing out. It's like you get the best of both worlds. Sometimes, totally. Actually, for those people that are time poor, especially, like what I've found is, if you can't organise a shuttle, but if you can wing upwind, say you've got a 45-minute window to do something in the water, and so normally you go for a surf, but I'd say go for a wing, or you said you go for a surf, but go for a wing, upwind like, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes, and then deflate. If you want to deflate while up on foil, or you want to sit down and deflate, then paddle up, totally up to you. But deflate and then foil back to where you started. And that's pretty much you'll get back in half the time that took upwind, as long as you're proficient downwind. Maybe if you're not proficient downwind, don't go too far upwind to start with.
You're working on your skills is the main thing.
Yeah, you literally just work skills, and it's just it's an epic way to like time pour downwinder. You just upwind for 20, downwind for 10. You're done in half an hour. Epic.
Fully, and maximising the time on the foil.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I remember we did a prone downwind, and I grabbed my wing, and we were going to we talked about running back to the car, but I'm like, no, I'm going to wing because just work on my switch. And you're like, oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, like working the skills.
I don't know how to switch wing.
Yeah, we need to get your switch stance. I don't know how you get up to flip and steel.
Fully. Just twisted back.
Yeah.
That's all. Oh, it's hectic.
Actually, one thing on the winging, this for the winging crew, one thing I noticed you do that totally makes sense now why you do it, that when you're switch, you grab the leg rope or the leash from your wing and you hold it out to the side. So instead of being twisted like this, I see you're holding the leash.
Yeah.
So it makes you less twisted.
Yeah, no, it's obviously a bit harder to hold, but when it's windy, you can just square up on your board a bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also doing the one hand in the light wind, it's pretty fun to try.
Yeah.
It actually, when it's light and you got one hand, say second handle down, the wind is just picking the wing up, like it hits the wing way more, so you get way more power in it.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
So down, or that's just going straight across the wind?
Yeah, just going upwind or tacking. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really want to try. I see guys in Hawaii do it, and they put the wing to their back. I've tried it, but I've always just every time I've done it, it's been a yard sale.
Scary to do that stuff, huh?
Yeah.
I've done it once accidentally, and I realised how good it is. I'm like, oh, this is cool. But then I don't know how I'd do it again. It just sort of got mixed up, and White Rock just sort of got all, the wind does funny things there. And I was just like, all right, well, I guess it's here. And I put it over my head, then it backwinded. And I'm like, oh, I'm starfishing.
It's pretty cool. You go fast, I reckon.
Yeah.
You're going real quick.
Yeah. So I guess, on equipment, you started big, board and foil, and then progressed down from the GL 240 to probably the 1150 is the smallest one you've downwinded now.
Yeah, that's what I'm on now.
Which is sick.
It's the go-to when it's, say, 17 knots and over.
Yeah, when it's good wind. I know we went out the other day and I used the 1150 and you were on the 1300 and I was pumping way more. And I'm like, Zane, you want to swap?
Hell no.
Yeah.
But the other day, that last Friday, we swapped and I just bailed with it.
Yeah, it was fine when you swapped to the good stuff.
Nah, it's good changing gear out there. It's a good way to do it.
Yeah, to test stuff out, for sure. That's why I was stoked when you got on the same board as me now. It's like, all right.
Yeah.
Now
kind of nice having a board with no pad on it. It's just like, obviously you got to wax it every time, but there's a lot less weight.
Yeah, that was purely because I forgot to ask for a pad. But the wax is cool. You wear it out pretty quick foiling because like pump, like but it works. It works. It's I think you save a bit of weight. Maybe like strips of grip would be better. So it's
fully. That's a good idea.
But it's Casso's been doing that for years. He just cuts up grip pads to little squares, and he's got all this
tiles
gaps, but it doesn't matter.
I find having a bump on the back foot. The board that I'm riding doesn't have the tail pad kick, and that's all right. But the bump on your back foot, it's a good way to indicate where your feet are or your back foot is.
Yeah.
And like I find having your feet closer together or your back foot further forward, that's a lot more efficient to pump when you're going at high speeds.
Yeah.
And then when you're really between like bumps and you're kind of hunting for the next one, I put my foot further back so I can get a deeper pump. So I push down harder and I get more lift out of it. And then when I'm up at a higher speed, I'll move my back foot forward.
Yeah.
Just for more efficiency.
Yeah, I feel like your pump game for anyone around here is kind of second to none, especially on a prone board. Like, you're a bit lighter than me, which definitely helps. But just seriously, your pump game, like when you're on the P180, you were doing like 10, 15. I reckon you probably done 20 minutes up in the surf zone on the P180, just like literally doing laps. And like that tip where you further back and then further forward, definitely. I've done that a lot, and I agree, it totally works. But you're doing something else, all right? And what else? What other tips do you have? Like, seriously,
The secret.
Tell everyone.
I feel like when you're pumping, it's good to move your feet around. So, say on a prone, I'll be pumping out the back out, and I'll feel like the efficiency of the foils. Well, I'm slowing down. I'm not keeping the speed up, so I'll move my foot back, and I'll get a bigger pump in. So I'll push down harder and then get back up on that top third of the water.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when I'll move my foot back, like forward.
Yeah.
And so I'll just go between that. So when I'm proning, I'll actually move my back foot around quite a bit when I'm pumping.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's definitely just, I guess for everyone it's different. Like, it's just feeling like the motion of your foil and the cadence of it. So
actually, do you think about like different gears? So like you talk about having your foot further back to get that extra height. That's like I guess you're doing that to get extra height, and then you move further forward, and is that more for speed and efficiency?
Yeah, more like at a higher speed, and just keeping up that speed and on that height on the foil. I find when I'm lower in the water, I'll put my foot a bit further back. Like, when I'm saying further back, I'm saying like half the width of my foot.
Yeah.
I'll just move it a tiny bit back, and that will just be enough to get like go over a wave, and then as you're coming down the back of that wave, pump up, and then you're back up on foil again at that height.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's all just comes down to feeling, isn't it? An experience. There's more time on the foil pumping, definitely the better. And I find going between wings, so like a surf wing, and then like obviously if you got the opportunity to have a few wings, you can like it's like surfing, you can just change it around and you get familiar with feelings, and then as soon as you like go back to an old wing, you just know that feeling and the cadence of the wing, and then like how much glide it has and how fast it goes. So I find just changing your foils a bit, just like tricking your mind and not getting too comfortable on a foil, definitely helps a lot with progression.
Yeah.
And your pumping for sure.
I definitely like. I noticed that from when I first saw you foil. I remember you were out White Rock with Jack, and you were ripping. And I was like, Lana, that guy's ripping, huh? He's like, she's like, you're better, and I'm like, oh. She has to say that.
You're always better.
No, honestly, I reckon the last couple of months, so Zane's been playing around some straps too, 1x1 foil straps, and the airs I've seen you've been doing lately are freaking ridiculous. Your pumping game, especially on the NL 130, like you kind of inspired me to jump back on the 130 because I was kind of like big old fat guy, just stay on the NL 160. It's easier to pump. And you were like, oh, try the 130. It's kind of good. And then I was using the 145 for heaps, but you were still on the 130, and I don't know, the way you link on the 130 to me is pretty amazing.
Definitely, the 130, you don't need to pump round. Well, I ride it days that you don't need to be pumping round for 3-4 minutes. It's kind of those good days where you just need to get it. You just need enough to get out to like a good one, and then like obviously the 130 is such a good surf wing. It turns so well. So that's the compromise of just being able to get out and pump enough to get out to the good ones, and then you'll be able to like rip turns and surf it so much better. Then the 160 you can pump round for longer, but the turning capability is not as good. I find.
Yeah. So, for sure.
It's just I find for the good days definitely worth being able to have the confidence of turning harder and just like making it a bit more of a surf feel than nursing it.
Yeah, Matt Costa, actually, he posted the other day, he's like, linking waves is so 2020. He's like, go use like a smaller foil. So maybe like, using like the NL 100 in the surf. Like There's no doubt.
Yeah,
There's
totally.
days we can surf the NA100. You're
For
not going to
sure.
link as many waves, but like just surf the wave and like
Totally.
just push as hard as you can.
I totally can relate to that because last year, I definitely wanted to pump around a lot more and I was actually had like fear of riding a small wing and not being able to pump out and catch the next one. So, but now, like on a good day, I'm happy to like have that compromise, just like catch, like get up, pump out, catch a wave, and then maybe catch another, and then like paddle out like on a shortboard. So
Old school.
yeah. I actually have really weak shoulders from not surfing as much. Like every time I paddle now, I'm just like, oh, my paddle fitness it's not as good.
Yeah, because you never paddle out anymore. He's like,
no, never.
If you ever see Zane and he falls off on the inside, like he must hit seaweed or something, because pretty rare that you fall off inside. You always pump out past the break and catch the next set coming in. Which, yeah, you were using the 180 or the P180 for ages, and I couldn't believe the turns you were pulling on it. Any tips to surfing a big wing?
Just don't try and surf it like a small wing. Well, you can, but you're gonna be breaching your tips a lot for sure. Yeah. And it's a good wing. Like bigger wings are good to get on, like ride on your prone, because you can just feel the speed of it and the cadence of the pump. So when, say, you're coming from proning and you want to learn downwind, you're very familiar with your gear. I find that's a big confidence builder, is being familiar with what you're riding and just knowing what it's going to do and how it's going to react in certain like lines you're going to take. And yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I know you I guess you said it earlier, but you rode your SUP foil board for a while before, in between downwind efforts, and
yeah,
that helped a lot, huh? Because just getting used to paddling it, surfing it, pumping it. Yeah, it's huge.
Because obviously a bigger board's heavier, so it's harder to pump. But when you're downwind, you can use that weight to your advantage. It, carries more momentum with a heavier board and a longer board for sure.
Yeah,
the swing weight you can use, I reckon, to your advantage. Like
you get a bit more drive out of it, I reckon. Like you can
totally, yeah. Especially, yeah. So,
well, we spoke about it the other day. Like Dave Kalama on the same equipment, and it's windy. Man, he hooks downwind. Like I did a run with him, and he was like ridiculous. Like we did a Keho run, and at the beginning he could hardly get up, and I was sort of waiting for him doing circles. And then he got going, and the first K kind of slowed, then it built and built, and it got windier and windier, and the bumps got bigger and bigger, and he just got further and further ahead.
Right. And he must carry so much momentum through the whole.
I think his decision making at speed is so good that he never.
Right.
You know when you have wings like maxed out, and you try to hold that feeling for as long as you can without doing too much.
Yeah.
He seems to hold that maximum speed for longer than anyone I know, anyway.
Right. Okay.
Obviously, Maliko run, he's got a good playground to practice it, but maxing out on a foil for the maximum time. So he's just, he's like he's on one swell the whole time, but obviously having a link as well.
Totally. Yeah, I find when I get up to the speed like that much speed and that much lift, I'll be on it. I'll be doing like that speed for about max 20 seconds, and I'm kind of chasing, like hunting to keep that speed up. But like recently, there's always the swells have been going too fast, so there's always that downtime again, and then to like hunt the small ones and then slowly build up to the medium, and then the sets come through, and then you back up to that speed. But I haven't had a run where I'm just maintaining that high average speed the whole run. So it definitely comes down to decision making, and like I think he talks about wormholes, and I call them shortcuts. Like today it was a really light day, and I found obviously decision making was the key to staying up and not using as much energy. So I was always hunting left and like ride, just like tapping into the smallest bit of energy, and then when it's enough, I just turn back down and just follow it as long as I could until it dissipated, and then go out left again and hunt again.
Yeah. And definitely when you're going left, that's out to sea. When you're
So
going
in a
left, are
nor'easter,
you
yeah.
letting a few swells go? Are you letting a couple?
So yeah, if I see like a group of bumps coming,
Or
I'll
a
let the
packet?
first a packet. Yeah, that's fine. I'll let the first bump go, or the first or the second, and then because when it's slower, you can let those first two go, and the third one will generally kind of be the steepest, and then you jump onto that one, and then you ride that, and then you can kind of pump over that one and into the front one, and then you ride that one,
Yeah.
and then they'll either catch back up to you or dissipate. So you got to you can't stay on it, so you got to keep hunting.
And then you use that speed to sort of hunt back out to sea.
Yeah, and definitely when you're on those ones, and it's like kind of in any condition when you hit the big ones, you're just chasing them or you're like weaving just to stay on them.
Yeah.
I find, like generally I'll like kind of on the bigger days they'll either be going too fast for me, and I'll keep up with them for like 30 seconds or whatever, and then like I'll be hunting again, and then it'll be like small bumps, and then those small bumps propagate to like medium, and then just keep getting bigger and bigger, and then you're back up to that max speed again.
Yeah, definitely.
So
I found that, what was it, Tuesday, when it was super windy. So I averaged my fastest ever time downwind using the RS 1000, and I felt like it could always go faster. There wasn't a lot of swell that day, and it was kind of southwest. The wind was super windy. It was like south with a hint of west in it, so it was definitely coming over left shoulder. Swell was coming over right shoulder, and he had those A-frames. And when I got one of those A-frames on the RS 1000, I was loving it. It was just like gliding so nicely. But in between, I was really looking for more speed. So exactly what you're saying, like you're sort of waiting for something to show up, and you just got to keep it moving. And then when that big one came, you'd have to kind of get onto a medium to
get the speed up to get onto it. Yeah.
To then jump onto the fast one. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's hard to, obviously at a low speed, it's hard to, you can do it. It's just harder to like be at a low speed, less momentum, and then try and chase that bigger bump. So it's good to keep your speed up, obviously, like your average speed high, and then when that bump comes through, you can jump on it and chase it.
Yeah.
And then, but that's like I'm still learning all that at the moment. Just keeping my speed up, my average speed, keeping them. Yeah.
We spoke about the other day when I was on the 1150 and you're on the 1300, and like you were gliding so much nicer between bumps. I was on a smaller foil, but we were basically, you were quicker. You were moving quicker most of the time. I had to turn a lot more.
Right, yeah.
And like cut out and cut in and cut out and cut in, whereas you were just standing on the bump and gliding. And for me, that was a real lesson. Always learning.
Yeah.
A bigger foil maxed out or closer to maxed out is way better than a smaller foil having to work the whole time. Because if you're maxed out the whole time, you're going to glide in between those max speeds. Whereas if I'm on a foil that's too small, I'm going to, have those little spurts. But in between, I'm going to have to really work it. And if I'm never maxed out, I'm never going to, it's not going to be as enjoyable a run.
Totally. Definitely find like having a bigger foil, even when it's windier, it's nice because you're not pumping. Like there was times the other day and I was maxed out for like minutes at a time, and I was like, I'm actually like, usually I'm sweating in a downwind, and I was just standing there. I was like, this is just so nice, not having to hunt for anything. You just I was wiping speed off I didn't want to get bucked off my board.
That was on the 1150. That windy.
Yeah, that other day was the fastest run I've done on the foil on the 1150.
Yeah. Well, what you averaged like close to 24, didn't you?
Yeah, I was doing between 23 and a half or 23 to 24.
Yeah.
K's an hour.
Yeah.
So
what were your watch splits? Like, the beeps at you? Do you know what?
They were around, I think the best one I did was 2 minutes 20.
Yeah.
2 minutes 20, and then between 2 minutes 20 and 2 minutes 30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And pretty consistent. I guess the trick is getting those consistent, because if you have lots low 220s, you're obviously getting closer to 24, 25 Ks now. But if it's like 230 and I've got average speed on my watch, and I know that when I do like, a something in the two teens, it's like, oh, that was a good one. Then you get up to 230s in the same run. It's like, damn it, what did I do differently? And sometimes you just don't find those sets.
Totally. It's just downtime, isn't it? Or hunting out to sea. If you hunt out to sea too long, that's definitely your times get slower. And have you cracked under 2 minutes yet?
Nah, I have power dinging, only power dinging.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I did the other day. I did a 2:08 on the RS 1000, and I did 3 consecutive 2:11s, like back to back, which I was pretty stoked on because.
What's that, like 26 k's an hour or something?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think it's quicker than 25 because my average was going up. I at one point in my run, my average was 25.8 k's an hour. But then I had to come in at Palmy, and you know how shit that is in a sou'wester.
Yeah, glass.
Kind of glass, and it was so windy. It wasn't westerly. It was like south. It was pretty south, but it was so strong that it felt offshore. You know, like and it kind of is, but it's like I was out here and I had to come into here, and this bit, like that wind coming into your face was fully. When it's 40 knots, like that's up. That feels pretty gnarly upwind.
Yeah, totally. It's different. Like at Palmy, like if you come in, say near the pool, compared to Bend in the Road, it's like a K and a half difference.
Yeah, I had to come in at Bend in the Road because I couldn't get into kiddies. Yeah, it was lucky there wasn't much swell because sometimes when it's big, like you don't want to come in down by the Bend in the Road.
Nah.
You know, actually tell us about your after that, you know, that best ever run coming in at Av.
Oh, like I wish I kind of punched it around the corner. It's like obviously less swell, but I did it with Joe, and it was his first time paddle. He did a proper paddle downwind run actually the other day, which is sick. And I came in first. I think I was like 5-10 minutes in front of him. And I always seem to line it up when there's sets. Always.
That's because you're always riding those packets, mate. If you always ride the packets, you're going to come in with a packet on the shore.
Every time. And if it's like that, I try to get behind one. And as soon as they get close to the shore, that's when they're standing up and they pull out the bumps. So you're always chasing it. And then the other day, I just got on a set and just got so pounded on the shorey. It was a bit of a yard sale. So that was all good. I just didn't really make it all the way in.
Yeah.
I was shy like 30 meters. Yeah. But the shorey's another thing you got to negotiate, especially if you're coming in when it's bigger. Definitely.
Yeah, how big was it? Just for those listening, how big was it, do you reckon?
Say 4 to 5 foot.
Yeah.
And I was like, when I came off the foil, I was just in the perfect spot for where it was just breaking on my head. It was just, I got like 3 waves on the head. Yeah, it was like whoever was in the car park was like, "Who's this kook? What's he doing?"
You just come from Colorado, average like close to 24 k's an hour, but he can't handle a shorey.
Can't negotiate the shorey.
And then so Joe went out in the GL 240. He's sort of taken a similar path to you in that he started prone and he's pumping around really well prone. And then we got him in a prone downwinder with us the other day, and he was using the P180, I think, or the NL190. And
I think it was the P180. Yeah.
He keeps falling like just a little bit, like just when he gets out, he falls. And then I've lent him the GL 240 since. Yeah. And it's clicking. Man, like the bigger.
He got a first go the other day. Like just
He would have been so maxed on the GL 240 on Tuesday.
For sure.
Holy hell.
Yeah. But he only came in like 5-10 minutes after me, and he said he fell off once or twice. So he must have been going pretty quick on that.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. So I think he did he tell you he ripped the fin box out of his board?
Oh, you didn't tell me that.
Coming in on the same shore, mate.
He failed to mention that. Interesting.
That's so good.
Yeah.
So same shore. He got pounded as well.
Yeah.
But I've lent him my old sup, so same board.
Yeah.
He's frothing. No, it's good.
Yeah, boards certainly aren't designed for that kind of impact, are they?
No.
I'll have to tell the crew at Sonova. Make them stronger.
and lighter at the same time.
And less expensive. Yeah. Nah,
epic.
but well, it's about 8 o'clock. I reckon let's start wrapping it up. And I always ask my guests to give or to finish off with 3 bits of advice for those first doing a downwind foil. So let's hear it.
Definitely a bigger board. So foam's your friend. Definitely in downwinding. You don't want to go too small because it just makes it a lot more difficult. Makes the learning process harder and slower, I find. And time on the equipment for sure is a big one, just for confidence out there and being able to knowing you can get up. And the third one would be probably just patience. Also with patience with like reading, like patient with the right bump to come to you, because they generally come to you. You can't chase them, especially when you're trying to get up. And also patience with the learning process as well of learning how to downwind, because it's a slog. It's definitely it's not easy.
Yeah.
But once you're there, it's probably the funnest thing I've ever done in the ocean for sure.
There you
go.
No, great tips. I'm going to ask you one other question. I want your favourite spot for surf foiling, favourite spot for wing foiling, and favourite downwind run.
Well, the only downwind run I've done is Brownwater to Avalon, or Avalon to Brownwater. So a southerly is better, definitely, but I find in a nor'easter, I'm goofy, so I'm not looking over my shoulder. So I find the nor'easter run is a better run, or it's more fun for me.
Yeah.
It's obviously not as fast, but it's like you can hit those bumps and like turn and like it's on my forehand. So I find the nor'easter run. Favorite wing spot? That's a good one. Probably Brownwater that other day. It was like a nor'east wind and south swell, which is so rare to get the nor'east wind, and a south swell was strong enough to be able to get in. That was probably Brownwater on the wing, and then around the corner Butterbox for the prone. Very, very high performance foil wave. There's generally a few surfers out when we foil it, but that's fine. They're cruisy.
How was the last time we had it to ourselves, and then all of a sudden 10 surfers came out?
Yeah, we got mobbed.
Fully. We just went in. Too many. Fully. The sun was in our eyes. It was too dangerous.
Yeah, totally. But definitely Butterbox is a good prone wave for the goofy.
I'll have to Duroa is a place I want. Once lockdown ends here, we should definitely do a trip down to Duroa, and that's
for sure.
That's northeast winds. I reckon you'll froth on it because it's front side for you, but it's how when we wing out and then go downwind, it's sort of a straighter run.
So the bay curves right in, does it?
Yeah, it curves right in. So you pretty much, when you take off, you're going straight, and sometimes you have to go a little bit right because the bumps kind of push you left. So it's epic. Like it's a sick run, and then for winging, there's sick too.
Right, okay. I could imagine down at Jervis would be good as well for winging.
Yeah, it's a few bumpers there. And
also another run last year when I was down south coast, Ulladulla to Bawley looks like a good run.
Yeah, so many. Yeah,
the line looks pretty straight.
Yeah. How's it getting out at Ulladulla?
The locals might sweat you, but you're just paddling past them.
Just going for a quick one at the bombing.
You might have to paddle out the boat ramp. Get hounded.
Wing out from the boat ramp.
Yeah, fully. Yeah, it looks like as soon as you get past the point there, the wind line's right there. So, I don't know how long it is. 15 kilometers, maybe a bit longer. I think the only it's like Newport Reef for us from Avalon. You got to get around the reef, but I think it's what is it? Racecourse Beach. There's only that outcrop of rocks.
Yeah, that's it.
I think it's an easier line.
Yeah. There's so many options. That's the cool thing, especially with the foil, anything downwind, you're just looking for these aligned like coasts that are aligned the right way, so that your dominant winds.
Even just foiling in general, like I've surfed all my life, and then I go back to these spots, and I'm like, oh, it's a totally different perception of like how I'd ride it now with a foil, and it's like a new wave right there again.
Yeah.
So it makes it all interesting.
For sure.
So it's gonna be good when we get out of lockdown. We can explore the coastline a lot more.
Yeah. One other spot that I recommend that we should hit up when lockdown's ending, but in a westerly, obviously Flint and Steel's epic when it's windy, but up towards Port Stephens, that westerly run is ridiculously good. We get the tide against it, and the wind seems to always be stronger up there. Yeah. Like west, northwest is best, kind of same as, Flint and Steel. But when there's a super strong westerly up at Port Stephens, you start at Soldiers Point and you finish at Shoal Bay. And I think it's 10, 12 Ks. But the car, it's a pretty easy shuttle back. It's only not too bad a drive because, it's not the city, not Sydney.
Yeah.
That's well worth the trip up. I've done that on my stand-up before. I haven't foiled it before yet, but I reckon like Broken Bay and the Hawkesbury get like super steep, short and lined up bumps. It's like Hood River, basically.
Yeah, right, okay.
River there frothing on.
I find the Hawkesbury run, you need to have, the winds have to be at least 30, 40 knots for it to
be worth it.
Be really, really good.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a good run. If you're like through winter, we don't get much wind from the south or the north, so it's everyone's frothing to do that run.
Yeah. It's sick. Yeah, so they were lucky we live in Sydney where there's all these options. Pittwater run was a good one. Is a good one as well when it's super strong southwest. Yeah. A lot of the crew on Tuesday when we were in the ocean, they did a Pittwater run. You're less likely to get stomped by a big shory coming in doing the pity run.
Totally.
but what I found, actually, we mentioned it earlier, but like you want to use a slower foil on those bay runs generally because there's less swell moving. So a mate of mine, Sean Woolner, went out in the GL 210 and said it was perfect, and it was howling like as strong as the wind gets. And he on the 210, he said he was perfectly like he wasn't having to pump too much. Whereas, in the ocean, if he was on the 210, he'd have been so maxed.
Totally, and like the bumps would have been gone past him. I think I did that run a couple of months ago in a southerly on it was an NL 220. Yeah. And it was a bit tricky to get going, but once you were going, it was really fun actually, just carving the whole time.
Yeah. Really lined up, huh?
Yeah. And as soon as it went past Stokes Point, the wind comes from the south and it pushes like that. It like sandwiches.
Yeah, at Carril Bay, it gets like full-on A-frames.
It creates like just generates more wind. So from there to the boat ramp or up to Palmy, it gets really good.
Yeah. No, I haven't done a pity run on the foil for ages, just because normally I'm in the ocean.
It's a good training run for sure. Because
good to get your skills up.
Totally.
Sure. Yeah, and confidence up too, for sure. I think actually I want to challenge you to do a deflate wing back down. I reckon you could do it easy. Like if you're next time you go out for you wing out and then you pack up and you go downwind. Instead of sitting down and deflating, just when you get out to however far out, like 1-2 Ks out, turn downwind and just deflate it and see how long you can go. Because worst case, you're just going to sit down and roll it up anyway.
That's so true.
Yeah, and maybe if you can roll it up while you're going, like, dude, it's so good.
Fully.
I guarantee.
Yeah, cool. It looks like there's wind this weekend, southerly, and then next week there's nor'easters, so we'll give it a go.
I'm keen to do a couple. I haven't winged out and packed down with the paddle for ages, but I'm actually keen
to. Don't want to lose the paddle.
Yeah. I remember I did that one when we were at Broken Bay, and I just said, not going to take the paddle, just bring the pump instead. And I prefer to paddle up, I think. I don't know.
I like the paddle up just for the just the skill, like the honing your skills of packing down and then getting up. That's like it's a good achievement every time.
Yeah.
So
I guess I'm going to come up with a way where I can quickly reinflate the wing, I reckon. It's got to be a way. a guy messaged me the other day, and there's this. Actually, this is worth mentioning. A guy messaged me and said there's this thing called a NASA wing, and it's like the NASA parachutes where they sort of you deploy them and they just float, and you can pull them in and it drops. So instead of it's a non-inflatable, and so you just sort of like a kid's kite, I guess you just sort of throw it up and it'll catch all the wind, and then when you're done with it, you can apparently just pull it and bring it in and just sort of into a pouch. So there's no inflatable edge, so to get rid of it, I guess you just pull it in, and if you can just stuff it into a pouch, it'd be epic. So yeah, look up NASA wing.
NASA wing, interesting.
Yeah, so I'm
new concept.
I've got to follow that up because it's like a 5 meter lines with a 4 or 5 meter.
Yeah, obviously you got like a kite. It's like a kite essentially.
Yeah, you've got the bar and everything, which is a little bit more admin. But if you can just pack it down like super quick and not have to pump up in the water, that'd be like if you come down instead of having to like I do like with the pump and I got to pump it up. It
takes about 5-10 minutes. Hey,
takes a while.
You wouldn't pump it up to max PSI. You just pump it up enough.
Yeah, normally I pump it up for as long as I can, manage to doing it because it's you hold the pump at the bottom and then you just like it's kind of like it's not easy. It's doable, but like pumping up a pump on land is not that enjoyable to start with.
It's so much easier, but it's not that enjoyable.
It's like another 1.5 times harder in the water, I'd say.
Yeah, right.
So it's like, it's not enjoyable.
Commitment, mate.
Commitment. Yeah. So I do that. So I want the wingers to do it. But I reckon this NASA wing, we have to look at it together. The NASA wing could be a way that you don't have to pump it up in water and you can just literally throw it up in the air and it pulls you out of the water. So you get your chip in that way instead of the wing.
Yeah. SpaceX.
Fully. Get our lift off.
Yeah. Epic.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on, Zane.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. We're trying to hold out and like do it over a beer after a downwinder, but the bloody lockdown has gone forever. But maybe down the track, we'll get you on again, maybe after we've done a NASA wing downwinder.
Yeah, the full SpaceX program.
Yeah. After that, we can show everyone what we used over a beer. So let's we'll go for a run again soon. But thanks for coming on the show and sharing stories with the crew.
Thanks for having me and inspiring all of us to do what you're doing. It's good. Yeah. Good to have someone pushing the sport for everyone. So
thanks for joining me because it was lonely out there for a while, and now I've got a downwind buddy. So stoked to have you.
Sick. Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers, Zane.
All right.